Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And for the record, don't forget to subscribe to me. I probably should be saying this at the beginning of the videos, and people keep pointing that out to me, so please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening to this. With that, let's dive in, no time to lose, and let's talk about 2024, because we've been searching on a whole bunch of stuff, both here in the United States, but also in the world. And so I want to go through this because, as you know, Google is the biggest, basically, internet company in the world at the moment, and Google search is the most visited site on the planet. And yes, the rise of generative AI, chatbots like ChatGPT, etc., as well as social apps may one day essentially basically really seriously dent Google, but for now, it's king of the hill. And so by virtue of that, this becomes the barometer for what we are curious about on the planet. And so with that, let's talk about results. And to be clear, Google made it very clear when they put out this report that these are not the most popular search terms for the year. Year in search is what they call this. Basically, this takes note of what essentially surged in popularity in 2024. Specifically, queries that, quote, had a high spike in traffic over a sustained period in 2024 as compared to 2023. So, by virtue of that, the goal is to essentially vet out those standard terms that we're all searching on, like weather or weather in your area kind of thing, to actually identify what we're curious about. And obviously, we're all curious about the weather, which is why we go to Google and say, hey, is it going to be sunny today, et cetera, et cetera. But with that, let's start diving in, and let's start with the entire world, because the entire world, interestingly enough, was searching on a whole bunch of stuff, and it wasn't just sports, because obviously those are some of the most popular things on the planet, but the number one search was Copa America. We had a World Cup this year. The next one was UEFA, European Championship. Number 3 was ICC Men's T20 World Cup, then followed by India v. England. Number 5 was Liam Payne. Number 6 was Donald Trump, because massive election, right? Number 7 was India versus Bangladesh. Number 8 was the iPhone 16, amazingly enough, and that was more Googled than Olympic Games in Paris in 2024. More people wanted an iPhone than cared about the games. And then finally, Catherine, Princess of Wales, is number 10. And these are the top 10 searches in the world. You'll note, interestingly enough, Donald Trump is there, Kamala Harris is not. That's pretty telling, basically seeing as how he won the election. Now, overall, 6 of those top 10 terms are basically trends for sporting events. So by virtue of that, here we are. Liam Payne, for the record, is the One Direction singer who died earlier this year. I would not have known that, for the record. Donald Trump obviously came in at number 5, iPhone 16. And of course, Catherine, Prince of Wales, for Princess, I should say, of Wales. I don't know why, but here we are. So maybe she did something this year. I don't follow that kind of news. With that, let's talk about the election here in the United States, because obviously I just showed you the world was Googling Donald Trump in general more than Kamala Harris. But is that the same here in the United States? Because remember, one country's search results may not necessarily be what the world is searching on. And obviously, we all know at this point that Donald Trump won the presidential election, and he also here in the United States topped his opponent, Kamala Harris. So he basically is in the top 10 global searches. Harris is not. I literally just talked about that. But he's also the number 1 name on the global list of people search trends, meaning if you're just looking at people, who are people talking about? Who are people looking up? He was number 1 on the entire planet. Kamala Harris was number 3. Now, his assassination attempt, interestingly enough, Donald Trump's assassination attempt, if you remember that in Pennsylvania a few months back, that even made it into the top 10 list of global news events. Trump also outranked Harris similarly in US-only trends as well. So in other words, here in the United States and in the world, we were looking up more information on Donald Trump. Now, you could also argue that Donald Trump is a media ecosystem in and of himself. If you remember, basically since before the 2015 election, news basically has revolved around him 24/7. And there was a study done that said that he got over $1 billion of free airtime in the 2016 election because, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, take your pick. We're just covering him way more than anybody else. Then Hillary Clinton, now Kamala Harris. So, with that, let's talk about the news trends. And because these are actually interesting, back in 2023, Google basically stated that Israel-Gaza topped the news trends, but it did not continue to surge in 2024. Basically, the world had moved on. War, as it takes time, basically drags on. It was the same with Ukraine back in the day. Now we are over 1,000 days into that, and it's just that slow drumbeat of carnage that's happening there. It's the same with Israel as well. So instead, this year in 2024, the US election topped the list of news events alongside the Olympics, Rafa and Iran, and the Menendez brothers. And I'm going to assume that's because of the Netflix show that absolutely blew up in popularity. I actually haven't seen that. I hear it's pretty good though. And I remember the Menendez brothers back in the day when I was a kid. So with that, another one was natural weather disasters that basically continue to be on the list as well. We saw some major natural disasters here, but the world did as well. Interestingly enough, right now, as I'm sitting here talking to you, Malibu in Southern California is basically on fire and being evacuated. So natural disasters happen all over the planet. There was typhoons, earthquakes elsewhere, etc., etc. And finally, and this one I kind of find near and dear to my heart, was the CrowdStrike outage actually was big enough around the world because it caused such a global outage of infrastructure that it made the top 10 on the entire planet, and that's very rare for a cybersecurity event. In this case, it wasn't actually a cyber event; it was a bad patch, but you get what I'm saying here. Now, some of the other things that were eyebrow raising out of this report that Google put out was another hot topic that people were looking at, and I totally missed this one, was Dubai chocolate bars. Basically, Dubai chocolate bars is a chocolate bar that's apparently filled with like a pistachio pastry filling, made it into multiple lists this year. So top global and US food recipes and viral foods basically all have this on their lists. But what makes Dubai chocolate on the list? So apparently, TikTok was the driver of this. These chocolate bars became a sensation after a food influencer out of Dubai, where this bar was apparently produced, basically posted about it on her TikTok video, and it exploded. Now, eventually, that bled into a million other media outlets writing about it, and here we are, Google search trends. And I think that really shows you the importance of essentially information that's flying around on any social media platform, but also just how big TikTok is as a driver, not just in 2024, but year over year as we see these things, because we've got more, because burnt toast and orange peels were also on this list, but these weren't actually food trends. And so obviously we love food, so it's not a surprise that basically the top 2 internet theories that were trending in the United States in 2024 were kind of references to food, but not, because they're really unrelated. Now, the burnt toast theory is essentially basically a optimistic version of what is essentially fatalism or determinism in philosophy. And it's simply this: like, all the small things in life, including whatever appear to be setbacks, are all part of a bigger picture, and they happen for a reason. Now, the orange peel theory is about how you can understand if somebody is considerate of you. I like the shopping cart theory on this. Like, if you know, if you basically go to a supermarket and you've got the shopping cart, if you basically put it back in the corral, you're a more ethical person. If you line it up with all the other ones and orderly you're even more so. Or if you just leave it hanging out there, you're a complete jerk. I will give exceptions though to those in handicapped parking spots, because oftentimes it's very difficult for them to do. And so there you go, you try to help those people out. But the orange peel theory is this: if you ask a person to peel an orange for you and they do, that's a good person. Don't let them out of your life. So that's essentially what it is. That's also went viral on TikTok, as did burnt toast. So this is what we were searching for in 2024. I think it's kind of interesting. I think it's kind of telling about who we are as a globe, also as Americans, but we'll see what happens here in 2025, but those were your top searches. Did you search on any of these? I really didn't. I'll be honest, I really didn't. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at Nick AESP. Well, with the exception of weather, I did Google weather, not weather in my area, but like disasters like the hurricane in North Carolina. And so follow me here, basically Facebook, Blue Sky, Twitter. Feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please, just please, attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.